All right, we ready to get this show started?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the bowels of Spiky Ball Studios. We're live from the Dutch Hall. Here's your host. It's your two-time President's Club Award winner. It's Pete Van Dyke, folks.
Hey! Actually, a legit applause, Paul. That's one of the first times we ever did. You know what I think? I think it's because we have the greatest band in Canadian late night history.
Yeah.
The Nocturnal Emissions, everyone. Let's tonight consisting of a super
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the old cockhead, the rooster. Who's on the corner? So Dave, your strategy is like Kev, right? Kev's like the drummer from Green Day, you know? At the end of the set, he just throws his sticks and runs out into the crowd. But you girls were supposed to scream and get Kevin, you know?
Trey Cool.
Yeah, Trey Cool. That's a good call, Tyler. Trey Cool. Dave, you purposely didn't get a seat for yourself today. And because you said you wanted to roam. You wanted to roam free.
Yeah,
you did not want to sit down.
We got so many guests tonight and a great studio audience. I feel like going out to mingle, just see what's going on out there.
Well, guys, in the studio audience, for those of you who stuck around after Fight Stories to stay for live from the Dutch Hall, I want to thank you. And your reward for tonight is that you get to mingle during the show with one of the genuine members of the Nocturnal Emissions, Dave the Rooster Charters.
Wooey, wowie, wooey. That is a prize.
This is going to be an excellent show for everyone. Now,
We also want to thank everyone who came for live for the Dutch Hall. That got there early for Fight Stories.
I thought we had a good crowd. It turns out it's just a fucking band
It's
and their
Pete
wives.
Van Dyke.
Big band.
they all really enjoyed it, though. To be
Yeah.
honest
yeah.
with you. I've watched a lot of interviews with my brother-in-law Ryan Vandenbussche before, and that was one of the best ones I've ever seen. Paul, my brother, who he has no reason to blow smoke up either of your two asses at all, right?
I mean,
Paul?
I'm pretty cool. But
You can give two shits about John Moses. Is that correct? I don't know him for
Hi,
sure.
everybody.
He doesn't know him from Adam.
Like everybody in the room.
He's just trying to live an honest life, building a few houses, right?
Yes.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. You're not looking scouring the internet for the comedy stylings of John Moses, but you should be.
I should be.
I'm excited to meet your brother after the stories you told me about you kicking his ass
Yeah, it's true.
before the show.
That is true.
Before puberty.
all before puberty.
That is true. All
We're
before
putting
puberty.
caveats on that shit.
Now, I want to before we get too deep into the show, I want to just introduce the people we're talking to in some more detail.
Yes.
We have John Moses and Tyler Morrison. They are the hosts of the Fight Stories podcast.
Yeah.
Now, we just recorded one in Spiky Ball Studios, but you guys have been all over the place, getting some pretty high caliber guests on your show, and some really cool stories you've been able to tell.
Yeah, so Ryan, obviously was a good one for us today, but we were all over New England, running around collecting fight stories. We got former middleweight champ, 5-time champion Vinny Paz, who was a complete lunatic, but also a good interview.
Great guy.
Yeah, we got some former UFC champions. We've got some big name comics. Artie Lang did an
Ken
episode.
Shamrock
Ken Shamrock from the UFC. But then we got some really great episodes from guys.
You had the guy from the Chappelle show too, didn't you, on your show?
Yeah, Donald Rollins.
Yeah.
He was really funny.
Yeah.
But then we just got some really good episodes from fucking nobodies.
Yeah.
And those ones sometimes are just fucking great. Like some of the best episodes.
There's some of these episodes are riveting to us. Like the first episodes that we did, there was a guy named Rob Driscoll, who's the 2-time Canadian kickboxing champion.
2 times.
2 times. And I think what was he like? He was training a guy, and the guy got hurt, so he stepped in and won the whole tournament, and then defended it. And
But he's also a comedy magician. It shows up to kids' parties in fucking makeup.
Yeah,
he's such a sweetheart.
he's doing balloon animals, but he could snap your neck.
Yeah.
That's just it, It used to be when you were younger, I'm just saying, my prime fighting years would have been, I would say probably late 80s, mid 90s, That's when you'd be fighting, right?
That's when your bones are rubbery. You can still bounce back.
Right? Because I would have been in my high school, college years. Yeah, that's kind of when you fight. Because then you get a mortgage and then you just don't want to fight anymore because you're like, hey, if I get fucking too beat up, I miss work.
Oh
and
my
stuff.
God. I live in the States, so if you get in a fucking fight, you also have to do a copay.
Yeah.
You don't just wander into the ER. You got to start thinking in terms of dollars. These stitches are going to cost me a couple grand.
I packed it in at 23. So.
Yeah.
That's when your last fight was, 23?
Oh, probably, yeah.
How old were you with your first real fight?
10 where I like hurt someone. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah?
where parents had to come into the school.
And you're what did you say your record was if you had to guess?
I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know. I never caught the fucking beating I deserved is what happened.
All right, Tyler. I known you for a bit. All right.
There's a couple guys, though. We were talking about it before. I got whipped by this guy, Ricky Bogatek, one of my good buddies. And we got into a fight over...
one of your good buddies.
Oh, yeah. No, like one of my best friends ever. But we got into a fight one night. We were drinking rye, and everyone got stupid. And Queen, Another One Bites the Dust was playing, and he hates that song. And I cranked it up and was screaming it in his face. And he just grabbed me right by the throat and choke slammed me right to the ground. And that was like, if you've ever been like just grabbed by a man and thrown to the ground with one hand and just owned, it really fucks with your conscience.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta reevaluate your shit.
Hey, where's Charters? Is he mingling in the crowd right now?
Snacking.
He's snacking back there. He's left the
Snacking.
fucking room. I'm sorry. I had a question for him because I had this story. Me and Charters, we went to high school together, right? We went, and one time, there's this big bruiser in high school. He was a kind of a cock, right? Like a bully, you know? He was dating this hot chick, and she was like way too good for him, you know? And we all like just didn't like this dude, right? He was a real douche, you know? Football player, like everything's going well for him. Nothing's going well for me, you know? Like, I don't like him.
I hate him.
Yeah. Anyways, we had to do swimming as part of our phys ed. So we go to the...
And he's got a big old dick on top of it all.
No, dude. That's the thing. He's got a shamrock tattoo beside a little fucking tiny dick. Remember that, Charters? Remember that dude from high school?
Remember that?
And me and you were like, all of a sudden, we're like, we own this guy, right? Because we know he's got a small dick. Like, you can't come back from that. I know your dick is like ridiculously small. Like, no matter how much you want to bully me now.
No matter how many of my teeth you knock out, it's not gonna change your dick.
You got a fucking tiny little dick.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
I wish I
why-
could say his name because I hated that cock.
That's why
Hey,
I think
Charters?
the fucking Facebook dude could win an election in the United States if he wanted to run, because he's got everybody's dick pics and everybody's fucking vaginas from private messages. And he'll just be like, you want me to release these to the world, or are you going to fucking elect me?
Oh, man.
Zuckerberg.
That's why
I think everybody
That's why I stopped swimming.
I think the only way to beat Zuckerberg is for everyone to agree.
To just show each other their dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a picture and put it out there, and then you can look up anyone in the world and see their genitals.
Yeah, it's profile pic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Your profile pic has to be your genitals. Yeah.
On your
It's
birthday.
new Facebook.
Yeah. That's the only way to make
On
it.
your birthday
to,
goes out
to
to
take the
everybody.
power away from Zuckerberg.
It's called Facebook. It's called Facebook.
We got to take it back.
It's going to be called It's going to be called. Well, I think it has to be gender neutral, right? So.
Everything does.
Bikini area book? No. How about
Junk book.
junk book?
Junk book.
Oh, that's a good one.
Junk books.
Gotta be
Cock,
gender
well,
neutral,
that's
Paul.
really giving the women no credit at all for their vagina pics.
Just junk.
Well, there's some junky vaginas out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's much harder to get a woman to agree to send her vagina than it is for a guy to send his dick. Like, a dick is just soars out there. The tits are always the first step. I heard. I've been married a long time, but
I honestly have no use for a tit pic.
really,
Yeah. To me, I want to see the vagina. I want to see what I'm going to be spending my time with. You know what I mean?
yep.
I want to know, like, I don't care about the tits, you know, like, any way they are, you know, they're meant to pleasure the woman, you know? The one self-lubricating orifice that's for me is the vagina. I'd like to see a picture of it.
Well, you know, the butt can't
I have
get sweaty,
certain
though.
taste.
See what's doing down there.
Yeah. I
All
want
right.
to see, is it an innie or an outie? I have a certain opinion of that. I like to see what I'm dealing with.
Good
I don't
thing
think
it's
those.
wife night here at Live from the Dutch.
I'll tell you. I think one of those front bum vaginas is hiding something. I think it's too sneaky. Is Ryan still here?
Here he is.
Do you want to come up for the end? We're gonna play a game at the end, and I do want to tell one story about you with Sidney Crosby. But you can sit there if you want for a while. Is that okay? Okay, we're going to keep doing that then. Because we also have to get to a segment at some point in the show called Feedback. So, you guys started a podcast about fighting.
Yeah.
So you must have some fascination with it, you know? Like at some point in time,
Oh, yeah.
it must have been more than just like a passing fancy. You guys actually took an interest in it. Like it was.
I've probably been in about like 25 bar brawls with a record of about 12 and 13.
Oh.
So I was gonna and I've like told some of the stories sparingly on stage, and then I was just telling Tyler one day, I was like, fuck it, I'm sick of fucking trying to bury this guy. I'm just gonna start telling all the stories, and I'm gonna do like a one-man show called Fight Stories. And he was like, dude, we should just do a fucking podcast about it. And I'm like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, because like we did a podcast, myself, Tom O'Donnell, and Jared Campbell called Rude Dudes, and like the best part of that podcast was when the
Great
fight
show.
stories would come out. And
Right.
Like all these things are happening, and like we had Terry Ryan, the NHL player.
Oh, yeah.
Terry Ryan came on. He like really
He's a weapon.
He's such a great storyteller.
Right.
And he blew our minds. And then John told me that, and like John, he came on on Rude Dudes, and we were all just jamming. It was just like totally like it made sense because
Right.
like John and I get along so good. We just had that chemistry. I'm like, well, we could do this as his own thing. And obviously he was like planning on doing that with his album, so
Right.
it just came into fruition, I'm like,
And then we have so much fun like running around and like talking about this shit with other people and
the
finding out there's
psychology of it is
Right.
so intriguing to us that like and then to hear the stories that like a guy like Ryan Vandenbussche or who else, like just guys like Ken Shamrock we had on, like he's a UFC champion, but he's telling us about beating people up in traffic, like road rage.
Right.
It's like this stuff like blows our mind, the stories that you just don't hear every day.
Here's a good story. I wouldn't even say it was like a real fight story, but one day after a mic, I was doing shows. This is in Toronto 15 years ago at this place called the Einsteins.
Oh God, that's
Oh,
where
I know
that's
that
where
guy,
I
yeah.
started
Right.
doing comedy. We missed each other by what, like a
Fucking
year?
probably 6 months.
Yeah.
that's
he
a
moved to-
painful memory for everyone.
John moved to New York when I started comedy 17 years ago. He moved like right before I started. So like, and we came up in the same crew of like douchebags. So
Right, so one of the douchebags. So we go from Einstein's to the bar next door. I'm going with this guy, Rob Clifford. Since then, Rob Clifford has progressed into rape.
Wow.
And we've lost touch. We're not as close as we once were. So
Robbie's he's done some jail time.
yeah.
That old chestnut.
But he was fucking running around doing comedy. He was fucking getting on stage at
As
Yucks. Once upon a
shitty
time.
of a person as he turned out to be, like
Right.
people, you can't.
What's he look like?
Like he saw fucking murder. He looks like Dexter, but not good looking. and
Yeah,
balding.
like
I don't know
Dexter.
the guy I'm
Like Dexter, if you cross Dexter with a rat. Like, that's what he looks like.
Yeah, so but Rob Clifford, let's say this. Okay, a lot of people want to take away that he was like they try and say he wasn't a good comic. He was a good comic. That's the fucking thing.
Right.
These people who are bad
If
people.
he just would have focused on comedy
Yeah.
more, he could have probably willingly had
bad
sex with
people
some of these
fucking
ladies.
can be good at other shit. Is all I'm saying. Like anyway.
So anyway, we're going to this place. We go to the bar next door to Einstein's. It's completely empty. I don't realize at the time it's a gay bar. So I'm just sitting there having a drink, just kind of,
I hate when that happens. To
fucking
me.
great music at gay bars. I'm really into electronic music.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt your story, but Kev Belanger, the French tickler, our drummer, he's under so much stress today, but he told me a tip. He says that he doesn't feel comfortable approaching women, but he has gay friends, and so they would take him to gay clubs. And then they would all be on the gay guys would be on the dance floor getting the girls, and then they would make friends with the gay guy, and then say, "Hey, do you have any straight friends?" And they'd say, "Yeah, the French tickler's right over there."
What a
The
fucking
French
move.
tickler.
Isn't that a move, man?
Yeah.
Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
True.
Gay,
Oh, endorsed by the tickler.
gay proxy. That's great.
His mom watches the show too right now. She's watching right now. Hey, Jane, can you go upstairs and get her?
Kev's got game.
So me and Clifford, we're in this gay bar. It's empty, and then I look up and there's a gay guy starting to dance on me, and I'm pretty drunk at this point. So I think in my head, that wasn't the worst. And then, but in my head, I'm like, I think it would be funny if I picked this guy up and pretended to body slam him, right? So I'm hoisting this guy up all of a sudden, and then he starts freaking out, and then all of a sudden his friends run over and push me, and I fall backwards with him on my chest through a glass table. So I'm laying there on the ground, back full of glass, fucking gay guy wiggling on my chest trying to get off of me, right? And then Rob the rapist is looking at me like I'm the fucking weirdo.
I remember one time I was at a bar when I went to university. I went to Guelph, and this guy came down to visit one of my friends, and they're sitting in the bar. It was the upper, called the Keg in the University Center, so it's on the second floor. And then we're sitting there, and I'm sitting at my table drinking my beer, and I can look over and I can see my friend getting real lippy with these kind of big bruiser-looking guys who look
sorority dudes.
Yeah, like a little
fraternity dudes.
And these are definitely hippie type guys. Gabe, you know Gabe? Paul? You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, Gabe's mouthing off, and he's not afraid to fight. So he's becoming even bigger because he's got his friends visiting him from his hometown. Oh yeah. So his mouth's even bigger. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. And so his best
loved fucking hiding behind my friends.
Yeah. I got a bunch of friends who, depending on who they travel with, you can see how mouthy they are. You know, if they have a big enough guy that they're riding with, they're fucking so mouthy.
Oh, yeah.
And we got one cousin like that, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
He's got a really big friend.
He's got a big friend, so he's got a big mouth. But it's served him well over the years, I think.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. But anyways, what was I going to say? I was talking about...
the Keg, the guy... flipping off.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I can see my buddy. He's fucking messing with these guys, trying to instigate a fight. And his best friend that came from home goes up, and I see him out of nowhere. He takes the main antagonist, the main guy that's gonna be the one that Gabe's gonna have to fight, and he just grabs him by the face and kisses him on the lips.
I love it.
Like a full fucking, as long as he could hold his face against his lips, he just kissed him on the lips. And then the guy finally pushes him away, and he's shocked. He doesn't know what to fucking do, this isn't a move he's seen before,
Yeah, that's right.
He's only seen aggression. He's never seen French kissing.
Yeah.
Right? So anyways, Pete was kicked out of the bar. He was thrown down those steps. That was what was important. That was on the second floor. They threw Pete down the steps, and I remember when he was on the bottom of the steps, he's yelling up there. He goes, he had his tongue in my mouth. He liked it. He liked it. All right. Yeah. So I want to ask you, before we get into a segment we call feedback, we got feedback. I have to ask you guys about your first fight experience, or your most pivotable
Easy for you to say.
Pivotal fight.
Pivotal fight. The one that is the TSN turning point of your life, the one fight that was really, really made a difference in your life.
Oh man. I haven't really fucking thought of it like that, man.
You guys remember the Sweater song?
So there's a couple of times where you just get fucking your head beat in so bad, you realize oh, that wasn't the end of the world. So I'm at a bar in Wasaga Beach, and I'm with this guy who a friend of mine who is boxing. His name was Johnny Clark, and he had been boxing with his uncle who was a trainer. His cousin was actually a world silver medalist or something. So he's been training. He feels like he is he's on the fast track to be some sort of fucking champion himself. We get to the bar, he starts lipping off to some guy at the bar. We're all outside. We're kids. We're 16, 17, and it's a bar full of men, right? So we're outside, and one of the guys comes out who was sort of trying to protect us because we're kids. And I'd look over, and he's on the ground just getting fucking piss pumped. There's a guy on top of him just pounding him, and I feel guilty because he's getting punched out because he was trying to help us out. Mm-hmm. So I walked over to the guy who was pumping him, and I just fucking nailed him. And then for the next 30 seconds, I just felt like 5 guys jersey me, and I just felt fists coming from every direction. And I was up against a parking lot fence, and I managed to fall back over the fence, but I was wearing tearaways at the time. So I fell over the fence and lost my pants, and somehow I managed to get my fucking pants back, but I couldn't put them on, right? I'm beat up, I'm drunk, I'm just holding my pants in a ball. I'm walking down the street of Wasaga Beach, and some fucking guy comes up, and he's walking with this girl, and he goes, "Look at this fucking guy, he's got no pants." And I go, "I might look like shit, but I still got enough to beat you up." And that's when the ambulance pulled up, stopped, and I hopped in the back, and they whisked me away to the fucking hospital. Driving home with my face just swollen, I was like, you know what? I could get good at this.
Yeah. It's funny, when the first time I got my ass kicked and I realized all that adrenaline rushes in, and you get like, you feel like it doesn't hurt like it looks, you know?
Right.
Like my face was fucked. Like they were just kicking me in it, you know? And so it was like gross afterwards, right? But like I didn't feel like I looked. I felt like I was so pumped up, you know?
Right.
But then after that settles down, you have a nice cry. You have a nice cry in the mirror where you just question all your decisions. And you go like,
That's also the alcohol.
God damn it. What is this, the concussion? Is it the booze? I think it's because I was getting married in 2 weeks and I didn't know if these wounds would heal. That's really the... Yeah. What? Get my ass kicked? Yeah. It's true, though. There's 2 types of guys, right? Ones that have been punched in the face and ones that haven't been punched in the face.
Yeah, but you know what? The French tickler doesn't look any worse for it.
Oh! You
He's
spot
managed to
Kev as
find
the
a
one
way.
that's never been punched in the face? Have you been punched in the face?
Never.
Really?
Never.
Fucking
What gave him away?
He's gorgeous.
He just said it.
Because he's too beautiful?
The confidence to have a samurai ponytail.
Yeah. You know what? That's
giveaway.
Never been popped.
And it's never for style with Kev. None of that's for style. He lives a life like a monk. He's up in the. He just hears sounds,
Yeah.
and he like concentrates on the sounds. And I'm like, Kev, like, what about like women and stuff? And he's like, no, sounds, man. Fucking get into the sounds. It's way deeper than that. He's a real beauty. You got to watch him tonight.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the tickler. I still want to set him up with a lady though, because I think he's a catch.
He will be.
But it's got to be a woman that loves sound.
So pivotal fight, like pivotal fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I think this one's the one for me because like I knew my dad was proud of me. It was we were playing in a hockey tournament in Oshawa, and we were like a team that was like a house league team, but somehow we ended up in a AAA tournament, and we all stayed down though and played in house league. We're all like rep players, and we should have been playing higher up, but we're all pricks, and we all want to get wasted together.
Yeah.
Because we were like running roughshod over
The
our
good old
league.
boys.
Yeah, we're
Super
killing
fun.
our league. They're like, you guys gotta go in this tournament, but it's in Oshawa, and there's
As punishment.
yeah, there's 3 Oshawa teams in this AAA tournament, and they're like, oh, these guys are house league. We're gonna put these guys against the Oshawa teams. They're gonna get fucking killed. Well, first game we end up like tying the best team in the tournament. The second game we get into a line brawl and beat the shit out of everyone on their fucking team. Next game, the whole fucking bar, or sorry, it's like an ice garden. So, or is that what's called?
Yeah.
The ice garden. So like everyone in the bar is in the arena. They're throwing garbage ass and booing us when we come onto the ice. Like we're the most hated team in this tournament, and I'm a goalie. So this is like we have another goalie that we alternate games, you know, and because it happened to be a tournament, this wasn't my turn to play. So I'm on the bench, and our team's playing, and it gets to the second period. Their goalie, the other team's goalie, is in our end, and he's like talking all this shit to me, and I'm on the bench, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kick the shit out of you, buddy. And he's giving our moms the finger in the stands. It's just a circus, right? He's a fat guy, right? He's a big fat fucking kid. I'm like, dude, like you're wearing a Mighty Ducks jersey. I'm calling him Goldberg. I'm just, I'm lipping him. It gets heated, and he's making fun of. I had this blocker from the '70s. This old brown blocker. And if you've ever like paid attention to goalies, those old brown blockers are so much heavier than the new shit that they have. So I wore that for a reason, because it's like a cinder block on your fucking hand. I'm like, dude, you're gonna find out why I wear this. You're fucking dead. He keeps yipping, right? I'm like, no, you're fucking done. We're fighting. That's it. Well, we get a penalty, and the play is down in their end. So what happens is their goalie goes down to put the extra attacker on the ice, and everyone's like focused on what's happened down on the other end, and a fight breaks out. They got the 6-on-5, and the fight breaks out, and no one's paying any attention to what's happening down in our end. Well, now their goalie's coming back to his net, but he's coming by our bench, and he's talking shit. He's just yipping everyone on the way back. And I go to my friend Dan DeFebo, who's standing beside me. I go, watch this. And I just time it perfectly. As this goalie's coming by chirping everyone, I just go, boom, with the blocker. And I one-punch, knock him out, hit him, like, right in the jaw. Like, just snap the head back. And he's, like, twitching on the ground. It's like a bad knockout. You know when you're, like, you're scared? He's like, I'm like, oh, this is the best, right?
A bad good one.
No one fucking saw it on the ice. But, like, so the refs didn't see it, but the fans all saw it. So shit fucking goes crazy, Like, the goalie's dad comes running down to the bench, and, like, one of our players, who's, like, a really nice guy, Mark, he's trying to hold the goalie's dad, like, back. And I walk up, and Mark's such a nice guy, and he's a big dude, too. I walk up, I just throw Mark out of the way and just start punching the goalie's dad right in the fucking face. Just bam, bam, bam! Just fucking blood everywhere. It's crazy. Yeah. My dad sees I'm fighting the goalie's dad. My dad comes down. My dad just starts pounding the goalie's dad. So we have all these dudes that we just fought in the line brawl on the other team from Oshawa. They come down, so I'm fighting them now. And so it's just insane. So my dad and I are fighting these guys, and the goalie's dad is getting beat up so bad by my dad that he starts grabbing like kids, like these little girls that are like 10 years old, trying to use them as human shields. And I see my dad just punching over top, just landing bombs on this guy's head. I'm like, you can't stop Tim Morrison. He's the fucking greatest, right? Wow. Oh, it was just a circus. We get a police escort out of Oshawa. It was the only time my dad and I really just looked at each other like, yeah.
It's a real bonding moment.
Yeah. It was the first time anyway. No, we've been idiots since then.
Tell him the men's league story.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite fight stories ever in hockey, and this is one that like came.
It's not our fucking
It wasn't
story,
us. It was
but it's so
when we
funny.
start doing the podcast, we start hearing these stories. People start bringing them to us, and we're like, oh my god! And like we're like always looking for these type of stories.
Right.
But this one came to us out of the blue, and it was like it's so funny to me. This guy, Mike Lever's his name. He's my cousin's uncle. And this guy is, my dad says Mike Lever's the toughest guy he ever rolled with, like ever. And he was at a hockey tournament, and this guy that is friends with him was with him, and he's all wasted. His name's Billy. I won't say his last name because I haven't met him yet. But Billy's at this tournament, men's league tournament, and they're all staying in the hotel. All the other teams are all in the same hotel, and he gets a little wasted. And he can't find his room, and he keeps knocking on all the doors at the hotel trying to find his room. And people are like, buddy, it's not your room. They're like getting tired of it, right? But he keeps coming around, and he knocks on this one door, and the guy's like, dude, this isn't your room. Fuck off,
right?
You know what I mean? Comes back around like 10 minutes later, knocks on the door. He's like, buddy, if you knock on this fucking door again, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. Well, sure enough, Billy gets a little bit fucking, he's still spun around. He's just wasted. He cannot find his room. Knocks on that door again. The door opens up. This guy opens up the door, just bang, knocks Billy out. Billy, doesn't knock him, but he buckles him. Billy goes down. Everyone comes in out of the room. They're like breaking them up, pulling the whole thing apart. And Billy's fucking, he's rocked, right? So the next day, they're all in the lobby at the arena. And everyone's hanging out, in the morning. It's the morning. But it's a hockey tournament, right? And this guy comes in. This guy's like coming into the arena and I think he's coming out of the arena, like he's coming out of like the dressing rooms, and the guy who Mike, my cousin's uncle, he goes, Billy, that guy right there, see that guy right there? That's the guy that fucking dropped you last night. What are you gonna do about it? He goes, oh fuck, I'm gonna fucking get him, right? So Billy goes and he hangs out in like the little foyer, you know, in the arena. There's always that like set of doors, that extra set of doors. So he's hanging out, waiting for this guy to come through the foyer with his hockey bag, and the guy's walking through this bag. And Billy's right there and just fucking bang, just fucking pumps him, takes him right down, and just starts up the fucking lawnmower on him. He just bang, 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 bang. And he's just fucking raining bombs on him like a madman. And all he hears is this woman go, stop it, he's only got one arm. And he stops and he looks up at her, he goes, yeah, that's the fucking one he hit me with. And just keep fucking pounding. Fucking Billy. What a guy. So we're hoping he'll be on Fight Stories season 3.
Equal opportunity. My best fight story I ever heard that wasn't from like myself, but I heard from somebody else, was this guy I tree planted with. He was a little wiry guy, also a goaltender.
Oh, yeah.
His name was Todd Clark. And he lived up in Sault Ste. Marie.
Todsky.
Which is, there's a lot of natives up there. This guy was like 135 pounds soaking wet. Like he was just a little tiny wiry guy. But he wasn't afraid of anybody. He would fight anyone he met. He loved it. Like Tyler here seems like he has a lot of enjoyment. Like his fight stories make him happy, you know?
Yeah.
He got in a fight with somebody. He gets like super happy. You seem like you have more trauma with your fight story.
Because his are usually like alcohol related. That like it wasn't like
hazy.
Like a good, like the real John Moses. Good John Moses isn't.
I mean, you love a fucking. I'd wake up in the morning and my jaw would be sore, and then people would start phoning, and the night would start to piece together, and I'd be like, "Tell me more. What the fuck happened next?" I would love it, you know.
But your fights usually start from like you being a problem with drinking. Like my fights were like I'd like had to like sort something out, and I felt good that if I did okay.
Yeah, I mean. At first, definitely drink, but then you start to get in so many fucking fights, it just becomes the norm. Like, you know, it's not a precursor. The last fight I was in was, you know, a couple of years ago. I've been sober for fucking 13 years. It was with another comic.
Oh, can you tell that story? I love it.
Oh, yeah, I love
You
the
gotta hear
story.
this fucking fight.
All right, so I'm in Hartford.
I didn't hear this until today, and it made me laugh.
So I'm in Hartford, and I'm hosting this mic, and a buddy of mine, his name is Grimes. And we're buddies, but we're starting to fall out because you know, I don't drink anymore, and you know, he's got a feeling about it. So he says that I stole a fucking joke of his, and you know what? The line was, it wasn't even a joke. It was like more of a tag that was similar. If he would have just came to me with it, I would have went, oh, you know what? I won't do the fucking bit. But instead, he goes around for like a month, and he's like, John Moses is a fucking joke thief. When I see him, I'm gonna knock him out. Right. And I didn't believe it. I mean, A, we were friends, and B, he had threatened other people before and never fucking delivered. He used to threaten this guy called Dan the Librarian. There was this comic called Dan the Librarian. If you're not going to fucking fight the librarian, why are you going to fight me? You know I know how to fight. Yeah. So I don't see him for like a month, and then my buddy, another friend, says, hey, man, he's really mad. When he sees you, he's going to fight you. And I'm like, no fucking way. He goes, no, he's gonna. So I'm driving up to this mic. I see him outside. I'm like, all right, I'm hosting it. When I see him, I'll talk to him. So in my mind, I've already parked. I'm walking around the corner. In my mind, I'm like, I'm just going to say to him, do you want to fight or do you want to go on stage? Because if you want to get on stage, we just got to talk, right? So I round the corner, and he's already got his fucking hands up. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, dude? So he comes at me, and I grab his hands, and I just fucking pushed him down. And he comes back up, and he gets at me again. And this time I grab his hands, and he tries to headbutt me, but I backed up, and he hit my chest. And then I pushed him down. And security got on top of him, right? So he gets up, and the security's like, okay, you inside it. You fucking stay out here. So he's outside, and for 10 minutes, he's like, John Moses, you fucking joke thief. The reason why you left Canada is because they kicked you out, you fucking cocksucker. 10 minutes of this is just going on. And then finally, at one point, he goes, John Moses, you ugly fuck. the only reason you do comedy is to get pussy. And I was so mad, but I was like, well, that's kind of right. Like, I could even see through my anger that he had a point, right?
That's a good point.
So then finally, the fucking bouncers let their guard down. And that's when this guy sees his fucking moment, right? And he pushes right past the bouncer and is running clean at me. And I just fucking kicked him right in the face. Like, before he had a chance to get close, I just went, gave him a nice fucking front kick right under his chin. And then I got on top of him, and I was fucking popping him. But I was mostly getting the top of his head. And a bouncer comes and grabs my arm. But it's a lady bouncer, so she's not stopping it, right? No offense, girls. But, I'm like, if I keep hitting this guy, I'm going to elbow her in the face. And then I'm going to have to fucking fight the bouncers, right? So I said, I'll just stop. But before I let him up, I ripped the shirt off of his back. So now he's sitting there like beat up with no shirt, still fucking talking shit, right? He's like, John Moses, that kick didn't hurt. You didn't even fucking kick him. and the bouncer goes, no, dude, he kicked you right in the fucking head.
I like the fact that guy didn't give up, man. I like that.
He left me messages on the way home. He's like, I picked up the phone. It's like, bleep, John Moses, you fucking faggot, right?
Yeah.
I've still got the messages at home. I'm going to put them at the end of an episode one time.
Yeah.
My buddy, the same guy, Gabe again, he got beat up by these hockey players I think 6 or 7 times up in Huntsville one night. And he just kept getting beat up because he wouldn't accept the fact that he lost.
Right.
But he
Huntsville's
totally
right
lost
behind
every single time. And they just kept beating him up worse every time. But he kept getting up and being mouthier. And it's like you get to a certain point where you're like, I'm fucked. What more can you? How much worse can you beat
At some
me?
point, the guy's beating you up. You're like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Let's just go home.
But I always like watching a guy that won't stay down, Like one of those stories where the guy's getting punched and he just keeps getting up and taking another punch. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
That's like comedy.
It's true.
There's a few of them
So many
still doing
sentences should stop. But
So
somehow.
many dudes still doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
But if they got good fight stories, we'll have them on our podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't care if you stink.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we just have to do one thing called a segment we call a feedback. We got feedback. And then we're going to invite Ryan Vandenbussche up here to play our game to end the show, which is basically a tournament where we take a bunch of well-known celebrities and we put them in a bracket, match them up against each other, see who's the toughest guy in the world, really, or in Hollywood at least. So before we get, I think we should do feedback. We got feedback.
We got
Welcome to feedback. We got feedback. This week's segment is brought to you, as always, by our friends at Amazon. If you'd like to go to Live from the Dutch Hall's website and click on our Amazon banner, you can do all your shopping, and that evil, rich, bald fucking guy doesn't get the money. We do. And it's a real nice treat because we spend it on fun stuff in this church playhouse we call Spiky Ball Studios.
Ooh.
So, help us instead of that guy. So we're not going to, send drones to take pictures of you when you're diddling your tweeter in the backyard, right? Is that what he's doing?
Sounds like it.
Well, it's a Dutch Hall fact now,
It is.
isn't it?
It's known.
And also, we have to mention our sponsors at Norpac.
The beef people.
And you killed it, Paul.
Yes.
I don't even know if I want to do that again because that was the fucking ad those guys have been dreaming about, man. I am not going to do it again. You killed it, buddy. Nailed it.
Good
Hey, you
to
know
have
what?
you back.
We're coming up to harvest time. I see the tobacco out there, Michael. It looks fucking beautiful.
It's getting there.
Yeah, you're going to have to start taking off the bottoms of those things soon. You know who that's going to create problems for? Your Army Electric. They're going to have to be dealing with you and people like you with your problems.
Real problems.
Yeah, that's my cousin Derek. He's got a family of 4. Maybe you should think about his needs and stuff like that and not call him about your stupid flicker and hydro that might burn your house down, old lady. Your Army Electric. If we don't get right the first time, we'll get it right the second time. And if we don't get it right the second time,
You can go fuck yourself.
brought to you by Clean Flow. And also, with our last sponsor of the evening, we are coming. If we're in the dog days of summer, you know what? You want to go on summer vacation? Why would you waste your time on summer vacation with your friends and family? They are horrible bores.
Pear-shaped losers, even.
They are no fun whatsoever. You know what? If you're going to spend your hard-earned money on a vacation, why don't you throw in an extra $100 of cold hard cash to Van Dyke Party Services, and we're going to send you between 5 and 29 Van Dyke First Cousins with bright yellow jackets, or as enough as we have been supplied by Clean Flow.
Could use a few more.
And I'll tell you, it's only going to cost you that $100 of cold hard cash, plus all of our expenses, which I'm going to have to tell you, they're going to be dear. But if you're not 100% satisfied, those expenses, we'll give you those $100 right back. But those expenses run through our bodies and potentially yours. Van Dyke Party Services.
Don't live your life in regret.
Also brought to you by Clean Flow. Yeah,
Good job,
you did
Dave.
It. You did it. You didn't even do it. Steve did it. You wrote that.
But Dave wrote
I wrote it for Steve.
Oh, you wrote it for Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake.
Sometimes there's harmony.
God damn it. You know, they're the only ones that really give us money for this show, and you've mailed it in for them. I'm disappointed. So we get feedback from our listeners every week. We ask them to do it on socials and live from the Dutch Hall gmail.com, and this week's no exception. You know who gave us feedback this week?
Who's that,
French
Peter?
Tickler's mama.
No. Actually, you're probably pretty accurate.
She always does because she's probably our greatest listener. She's definitely in contention for number one listener right now, or a viewer, I'd call
Listener
her.
of the year, even.
Maybe. This might be her year. You know, this is episode 292.
Who was
We're
listener
8
of last year?
I don't know. 2 years ago was Ryan Vandenbussche.
Oh,
though.
it was Bushy 2 years ago. Okay.
Maybe even 3 years ago that Ryan was the listener of the year. But you know, he could never get listener of the week. The guy was always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But he did get listener of the year, which we really were happy to do. And he also judged the mustache contest with our director, Tyler Shazma.
Yeah,
Remember
Charters
that?
thinks it was rigged.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later, Ryan.
Charters, your mustache.
I'm pretty sure it was fixed.
Whatever.
Good shit. Man.
Excellent judge.
Mike right now has just been busy for a couple hours. That's what he's got growing on his lip. You've
I shaved this morning.
I've been growing this since high school.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're a disgrace. So, anyways, we just have to go to Kevin Van Dungeon. Kevin Van Dungeon, he gave us some feedback. He says, "Hey boys, first let me say I can't wait until the parade in Burford. Shooting at the Pope Mobile will be like trying to hit the ball collector at the driving range. I'd also like to say Charters should be recognized for correctly pointing out that the Pope was Polish and not Asian."
Yeah, I know my facts.
Yes, thank you. What was that in regard to? I love it, Dave. I wish I could say that, but I don't want to jeopardize his employment, so I'm not going to. But I'd love to fucking jeopardize your employment one day. Can you do that? Can you give me like a heads up where I can fuck it up?
I'll give you 2 weeks' notice.
Can I fuck up your career and not fuck up your pension? Like if you gave 2 weeks and then I was always like, okay, I'm gonna tell everything about Dave now.
I'll give you 1 day notice.
Oh man, I can't wait till that day. It's gonna happen, right? Like I'll get it one day if I live long enough.
1 day.
Fuck yeah. Your job sucks, man. I can't wait till you're done it. Let's go do some crazy shit, man. What's the matter with you? Fuck your family.
That's not nice.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that out loud?
That was inner Pete.
That was inner Pete.
What does Dave do?
Dave's a master of industry. I'm not allowed to talk about his employer's name, but he's a fucking big deal. Like seriously, and like as far as like industry goes or manufacturing or whatever,
He's a master.
Next topic.
Hey Jordan, you're in that industry, right? You're like fucking Charters. He's a big deal, right? He wears a color hat that makes him like better than everybody else.
Shit. You work for Willy Wonka?
Yeah.
I ride the
ticket.
elevator.
And like people really care about it if they work where Dave works, but like we don't.
Right.
Yeah. It's like my 2-time President's Club awards. Like nobody gives a shit about those. Like they were when I was a
Piece
banker.
of glass on your fireplace mantle.
Yeah. I have it up there by the bar. They're fucking useless. Nobody gives a two shits about them. But I've mentioned it every week. Anyways, you know who we should talk to is the Haitian Dwarf.
HD.
Yeah. He's been with us since the very beginning of the show, and he gave us some... He's back again. Let's hear it for the Haitian Dwarf.
Hi-ho, it's off to bed we go. Let's not fight, we'll fuck tonight. Hi-ho, hi-ho.
he gives us feedback on iTunes. And this week he gives us 5 stars. He says, not since Dumb and Dumber has the world experienced such witty banter from the HD.
Wow.
I think that's a compliment, Dave. That's directed towards me and you.
Yeah.
Saying our comedic chemistry was as hilarious as that of Jim Carrey and that other dude.
Jeff Daniels.
Who shit in the toilet. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Haitian Dwarf.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
I'm glad to see we're on the mend in our relationship, that it's not just all mudslinging anymore.
Ups and
And
downs.
I did miss 1 week of his feedback. And it was basically saying that Joe, it was a sarcastic thing. I'm summarizing this, Haitian Dwarf, and I'm probably butchering it. But it was a summary that Joe Botello was shit, apparently. He said it more cleverly and in a different way, but that's what he was getting at.
He's in that camp.
Yeah, he doesn't care for Joe. I think that camp's getting to be kind of crowded. Anyways, you know what? Enough of this. We are talking to the cheese lady, and we're ending with the cookies. You know what? No, I'm stopping it. Before we do that, before we get to the cheese lady, let's talk about the greatest sponsor and all sponsors we have for this show, and that's our cookie lady, Susan B. While you play in Susan B's theme song, Jane's going to go around, passing around Susan's treat. Make sure you get to the live studio audience.
Wow,
this
everybody
week,
hates
'cause this is
cookies.
going to draw people in.
Unbelievable.
Make sure T-Mac Daddy gets one.
Pussy clots, all the clots. We love your cookies, we love them, Susie. Susie. Yeah, we love your cookies. A bum clot, ras clot, pussy clot, all the clots. We love them, Susie. Love the cookies, keep them coming. Yeah, we love you, cookies, and we love you, Susie. Susie. I hope you're watching still.
All right. These are like the homemade Oreos, repeat on the
repeat.
top 5 list.
These are winners.
You know, if Kevin like messed my show up every week and his mom still gave me these cookies, I'm gonna tell you the truth, Kev. You'd still have a role here forever.
Thank you, Pete.
Right.
Appreciate that.
As soon as your mom stops providing these things, you're on fucking eggshells, brother.
They're nice.
These are good. All right.
That's a good cookie.
You know what? These are so good, and I know that the Big Dutch doesn't like when I eat cookies on
Hates
the
it.
air. Hates it.
That might be a fight story.
I'm going to tell you about the cheese lady. We're going to skip her this week. Cheese lady's out there listening. We love their support for the show, but we don't have time this week. We got to get to our big game. Ryan, you still here?
Hey.
I'd like to invite up to the stage for our final segment of the show, Ryan Vandenbussche, everyone. Let's hear it. Now, Ryan, you still on the cookie too? Say hi to Big Dutch then. Say hi to Big Dutch. He hates it. He's a big bruiser, just likes to punch cows in their tits when he hears us chewing cookies, eh? He just sits there with a milker and just punches fucking teeth, eh?
Pete talking
He's
again
like,
with his mouth
Don't
full.
talk with your mouth full. Just fucking oof, oof in the gutter, you know?
Right in
That's
the
what my
udder.
listeners do. Yeah. Anyways, we got it out of our mouth now, Ryan. Ryan, now I want to tell you, because I know most of my listeners are probably going to tune into Fight Stories to go check out the episode with you. And they're going to hear all the great stories you told these two gentlemen on your episode of Fight Stories. So when they're doing that, they're going to miss one story that these two gentlemen forgot to get to, which was near the end of your career when you're playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They had just, starting with the Rangers, with Gretzky and Messier. And here you are And your last year in the NHL, you're playing in Pittsburgh with Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, right?
Yep.
Sidney Crosby's a rookie here?
His rookie year, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And remember when they were pushing him around a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
And remember they said, someone's got to teach this fucking kid how to fight?
Yep.
Yeah, who they could turn to, Ryan?
That'd be me.
That is right.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? No one's messed with Sidney Crosby since.
Sidney Crosby's won. He's won all his fights.
That's right.
He got better.
That guy's pregame warm-up was tougher than my post-game workout. And that's no lie.
And he's like 18.
He's a machine.
He's a
He is
weapon.
An absolute machine.
The core strength.
And I averaged probably 4 or 5 minutes a game at best, and he was averaging 27 minutes a game. And I was like, I didn't want to do his pregame warm-up because it would tire me out for the game.
And
I prided myself on being in good shape.
Yeah, you were like the fittest guy in training
Right.
camp most
That's
years.
how
You were.
fast it changed.
Yeah. These guys were born with the fucking what is it? The nutrition.
Right.
Like like we were
He was doing everything right.
right since he was a kid.
Absolutely.
And we were not.
We were not. No.
Not even
From the
close.
day that I retired, I only started doing things right off the ice was when I retired from hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started eating better and taking care of my body a lot better.
Yeah, remember, like I have your jacket. Now, I guess you're training to be big too when you're in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have a suit jacket of yours. It is a beautiful purple jacket, and you wore that
Barney.
with the pants. Your fellow players would call you Barney.
Well, yeah, when I'd walk into the room, they'd start singing the Barney song.
Yeah, I thought.
I love you, you love me.
But that thing's massive. Even on me, it's like shoulder pads out like
Yeah,
this. Like
it was way too big.
you'd be swimming in that jacket now, right?
So I ate a lot of ice cream and shit food to be that big.
And beer
Really.
too, right?
And beer, lots of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bushy, I heard a thing the other day on Spittin' Chicklets that it was Max Talbot, who I think was around the same time.
Yeah.
And he was saying when you played that year, Sid's first year, that it was like a country club there with Mario and was John LeClaire there too?
Yeah,
Mark
Recchi.
Yeah, Mark Recchi, yeah.
And then when Sid came, like you'd have to go for a beer after the game, just have one, and then you could do whatever you want. Is there truth to that?
It was, I played with a lot of these guys the year before during a lockout year. I went down to Wilkes-Barre
Right.
and worked with the younger guys, and it was a really good group of guys.
That's
And a good handful of those guys: Armstrong and Fleury and Scuderi and who else was there? Talbot.
Talbot, yeah.
So they were with a big team the following year, and we were all there. And the dressing room was the best part. These young guys were just so funny and just good to listen to. But then now we won the lottery with Crosby.
Right. And they said that changed everything.
And that changed everything because then that brought Lemieux out of retirement.
Right.
Wow.
And so now we've got the owner of the team, one of the best hockey players in the world, in the dressing room and with all these young guys, and it kind of fucked up the chemistry
Right.
in the room. To be honest with you,
And that's what Talbot was saying was that when
In a
Sid
good way.
came in,
No, not in a good way.
No?
No, we shit the bed.
So Lemieux coming in.
It didn't help our team.
Okay.
That's my point
Oh,
of view.
no,
It
no,
was
it's interesting. No, like.
as far as
hard
like
to
off
separate
the
the
ice,
roles of
right,
the-
it was
I
going the
know
other
how
way.
the room was the year prior with these young guys that
Yeah,
were
yeah.
just full of piss and vinegar, and they were just a blast to listen to in the
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
And all of a sudden
And
they're
then
sitting
the
across from
following
their
year,
boss.
now they're in the NHL, and we got their boss in the room.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just it wasn't the same vibe, and that was
Yeah,
kinda
fuck player
disappointing.
coach, he's player owner.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I have a question for you. Like we didn't get to this. You were a player coach for a year, weren't you? Or
Yeah,
like
New Mexico.
New Mexico. What's that like being like a real life Reg Dunlop?
Yeah, I really was looking for one of those leather jackets. I should have talked to Pete about that.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
it didn't last very long. It was less than 20 games. Because I knew if I played more than 20 games, I wouldn't get like $35,000 in some sort of compensation. So I knew I had to keep under that. So I packed it in the middle of January.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Oh, it's good.
So, in order to end the show, we have a tournament where we're going to determine the 8 toughest guys in the world. We have 8 people that I put into this. These are Hollywood tough guys, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's not that clever. It's basically the cast of the Expendables. You know? It's not very much different.
Pretty easy.
But what we did was we separated these gentlemen out. We put them in brackets, and I randomly shuffled it it was vetted by Steve. There's no monkey business in this ranking. I put a number behind each one of their things, and Steven can put them in the categories. Our first contestant, Vin Diesel.
Oh.
Vin Diesel will be facing in the first round
Number 2.
Chuck Norris. And the second
Yeah,
contest.
we know what happens there.
Yeah, the second contest.
Chucky shoots
Somebody's
him.
fucking cock gets sucked.
We'll have The Rock, who looks surprisingly like Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Both like bald penis heads. And
Easy.
Steven Seagal.
Oh, I can't wait for round 2.
Oh, yeah. In the third round of the competition, we have Old Sly, Sylvester Stallone, and
Rambo
and
Sly.
full Rambo Sly, but I don't know. Against Jason Statham. Now, we have to say this to begin with. Are we judging them by today's,
No, prime.
their
I
prime,
mean, they're
Prime.
for sure.
and the real life person or the character?
The
Character.
character.
What?
Yeah, they're actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, the character.
I know, but I wanted the real life.
Their characters as a whole.
Okay, cool. Whatever the rules are, if everyone agrees.
Right.
Number 7, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I know he's been gone for a while, but he'll kick your
Pretty
fucking ass.
awesome.
And the last one is
'Kay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's pretty easy.
Pretty easy?
Yeah.
First round, I think, is a slam dunk here.
Yeah.
Chucky's
Vin
moving
Diesel.
No
on.
question there.
Vin
Anybody want to
Yeah.
go against Chuck Norris?
No.
You're a fucking fool.
No one's going against
Got a
Chucky.
fist in his chin.
Yeah, Vin Diesel would get crushed by Chuck Norris. He wouldn't even see it coming.
Where is Ryan Vandenbussche?
You can fight the winner.
I'd say, yeah.
Winner.
right.
He
Fights the
fights the
champ.
winner. None of these pussies can skate.
I got to ask you, if
I
The
bet you
Rock
fucking
is
Van
fighting
Damme
Steven
can
Seagal,
figure
round 2, The Rock's fighting Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal's moving on.
I don't know about that, man. The Rock is a fucking wrestler from a wrestling family who played fucking Division I football.
He's
And
a-
he's got to have fucking 80 pounds on him.
Now, Steven Seagal can take you down by touching a nerve in your neck and looking at you all fucking creepy with his yellow sunglasses.
My big problem with Seagal, and I love him so much, but he has been debunked. It's tough to, like,
He's not really tough.
No, he does that Aikido bullshit.
yeah.
Ponytail off.
Oh, there goes the power,
You
dude.
can't compete
Whoa,
without
whoa,
the
whoa.
ponytail.
No ponytail. He's fucking gone. He's not even on the
Fuck, I didn't know that.
In his
The Rock
prime.
moves on.
The World
Yeah.
fucking Wrestling Federation
Yeah.
champ.
Yeah.
What about that knife fight on the boat? Remember the knife fight with Steven Seagal on the boat?
Under siege?
Man, Steven
You know what
Seagal,
real life Steven Seagal?
Seagal's fucking amazing in his movies, but I'm saying like real life shit. I don't know. He's been
But even if we're
there's
judging
your balance.
character, The Rock is the fucking champ, man.
I think that I watched the
Not to
speech
me.
one time in Russia with Putin,
Yeah,
and in the background it's fucking Steven Seagal.
fucking right.
I'm not
Steven-
even kidding.
Steven Seagal like as
You
like
can
a,
look it up if you
Yeah,
go to
he's
as
watch.
an action
He's also a
hero.
police
As an
officer.
action hero, Steven Seagal's my favorite. But I'm saying like he's been proven to be not as tough as he like blew it up to be. And you know what? It really upsets me.
No pony, no
I
power.
I just love ponytail.
You mean it's acting?
Okay, round 3 we have Sly, Sylvester Stallone, full Rambo
Sly's running over this.
100%.
fucker.
against Jason
Fuck
Statham.
Statham.
100%.
Fucking kidding me.
Fuck
Sly
Statham.
Stallone, no
Jason
question.
Statham's the only real tough guy in the whole thing, I think.
Just get rid of
He
that
eats shit
guy.
that'd
Get
make
him
a
out
Billy
of
go
here.
You're not
puke.
beating Rambo.
Sly's moving
Get him
on.
off my fucking.
Oh man,
thing.
move Rambo down to the correct
then
bracket,
and then
Steve.
just move.
If he
fucking-
doesn't beat you
and
with
then
his
just
fists,
move Schwarzenegger to round 2. Fuck.
Schwarzenegger is all show
shoot
no
you.
go. Rob Van Dam can do the splits.
Jean-Claude
Jean-Claude.
Van Damme.
What is it?
Jean-Claude Van
Jean-Claude.
Damme got pumped by.
Yeah,
an
you make a
old
better
picture.
point.
No.
I don't even remember
Just
this
move,
guy's name.
Move
But you
Schwarzenegger.
do the splits on a pair of chairs.
Yeah.
Do that?
Schwarzenegger can't do
I
that.
used to be able to
No,
when I was
against
a
the Predator.
goalie.
And he can
and I
dance.
punched a goalie from Oshawa from the bench. No,
Yeah.
I can't.
All right, Schwarzenegger can move on.
Is that who wins? Yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't. You think he wins against
I don't know.
Jean-Claude?
Jean-Claude.
You go Jean-Claude?
Of course.
Steve,
Fucking
not so
Bloodsport,
quick.
man. He's awesome.
Not so quick. What do
He's
you
a
think,
fucking.
Wes?
He's a machine. He's a Terminator, man.
Oh,
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Arnold Schwarzenegger in a fist fight.
Van Damme's a
Yeah.
boon boy.
Yeah, Wes is going the
Wes goes
tiebreaker.
Schwarzenegger, and Wes is my favorite, so it's Schwarzenegger. What? You're upset that Wes is my favorite, or that I go? You get to know this guy. He's the best.
Okay, Chuck and me.
All right, so now we're The Rock versus Chuck Norris. See who goes into the finals to face Ryan Vandenbussche.
Oh, it's a tough
Chuck
one between
Norris.
him and Sly.
Honestly, you're never gonna. If the Rock also, he looks great. He's got rippling muscles. Chuck Norris would
True.
fucking kung fu your ass off, man.
He's a Texas Ranger too.
Chuck
Fuck.
Norris. Are you kidding me?
And the fucking owner of the Ab Rocket.
Anyone that goes against Chuck Norris is really going against like.
Chuck
every-
Norris
can't
really
fuck
is
with
the
Chuck.
winner of the whole thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, why are we even fucking doing this?
Right.
Put Chuck Norris in the middle and have him fight Ryan Vandenbussche.
I like everyone
right
else.
Oh
now.
my God! And they kind of look the same.
Who'd beat Chuck Norris, honestly?
Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee fucking broke his
Not
neck.
now. He sucks when he's dead.
No, he'll come back.
Sly's Stallone.
What about Sly as Rocky versus Chuck Norris?
Bruce Lee broke Chuck.
Sly as Rocky versus Chuck Norris as what?
Good
Chuck
question.
Norris.
As Chuck Norris,
Norris.
everyday Chuck Norris? As against Rocky?
Yeah, I don't know.
God damn it, that's a good fight. I
That's
would
the
go
final.
with,
I'm going with Sly,
God damn it, I
100%.
can't go against
Braddock versus Rambo is a good fight, though.
Rambo's got a gun in his hands.
That's right.
No, but Braddock, Chuck Norris is also
I think Chuck
a
Norris
machine
shoots bullets.
gun guy. That like that's like a
All right.
war.
It's the Chuckster.
Well, what we've really done is we've given everybody at home something to think about, right?
They better fucking
Can
think
Chuck
long and
Norris
hard.
really beat The Rock?
They better think long and hard.
No,
Sly
probably
would win
not.
this.
They're all old men now, except for The Rock, probably.
your take on
Fuck it, right.
Who do you think should have been in that list that was left off that list?
Fucking
You think-
Dolph Lundgren.
Tony Jaa.
Ah, Dolph Lundgren's a
Tony Jaa.
good- huh?
Frank the
Tony
Animal
Jaa.
Bialois should have been on that list.
Frank Valdez.
I would love to see that. I want
You
to
gotta do if you were to do a top 8 all-time fighter NHL bracket like what we just
Bruce
did with
Lee
this.
should have been in, and
No, he's not in the NHL. Bruce Lee
oh,
sucked.
NHL.
Weak
fuck.
ankles, man.
Asians can't skate.
He
Paul
just
Correa
slap
couldn't
shots.
even
sucked.
make it.
I'm gonna
All
say,
Korea.
Paul Correa's the only one.
I'll say a name that you never heard of probably, but his name's Steve McLaren. He's a tough guy in the American Hockey League, the Always Hungry League, and that
Yep.
guy was fucking tough.
Yeah.
Steve McLaren,
What was his background?
Ontario boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just threw a hard right and left. He could switch mid fucking throw. He was tough.
Many years in the AHL.
Many years in the AHL. Yeah, those guys are tough.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that story about my guy who is like my favorite fight story. He was a goalie in Sault Ste. Marie, and then he was playing. He got traded to a native team, right? So it's all native except for him. He's the goalie. He's playing goalie. It's his all native team. So like when he had a good game, they were kind of nice to him, but when he had a bad game, they would like fucking just ridicule him, call him like snowflake. You know, like you white piece of shit. You know, you just sieve. You
Well,
know.
the whole team was native.
The whole team's native except for him, so they're like.
They're so mean to us, aren't they?
So they're playing this game, and Todd's like fucking. He's fuming playing goal, right? And so someone skates past his crease, and Todd fucking just swings his stick at him, man. You know, like gets a penalty. 2 minutes for you, you know, goalie. And then next guy skates by, Todd does it again, you know, like fucking whacks him with his stick. And then 2 minutes again. All of a sudden, the captain of the team, Rudy, you know, goes to have a chat with the coach. Comes back to tell Todd, he goes, "Hey, Todd, coach says cool it." Right? Coach says cool it. Right? Todd, that was enough to set him right off. Fucking captain of his team goes to line up at the blue line. Todd skates out and fucking drills his captain in the face, and takes his face mask and like bloodies his whole face up, and like the whole team's got to pull Todd off of his own captain, you know, and he's just beating the shit out of him, right? And so Todd got traded after that game, right? They didn't want him on the team anymore, and so his parents, who had been supportive of him for his whole life, they had to bring him. He got traded. He got to play on another team, and there was their first game going back to the reserve to play the native team, and Todd had to go play his old team. And his parents had been to every one of his hockey games like since the beginning of him playing, and they drove him up to the door of the arena, and they just open the door and are like, "Get your equipment and get out of here. You made your bed, now go sleep in it." Like, and Todd said he had to walk in the arena with his own equipment and look around at all these people that were on his old team before. A few of them who he punched in the face, who he hated, and they're just like, "You're gonna fucking die, man. You're gonna fucking die."
I fucking love Todd.
Yeah, Todd was a beauty, man.
Todd's the best.
Anyways, guys, I want to thank everyone for listening live from the Dutch Hall. You've been great especially for the ones that have stuck around. T-Mac, Daddy, Jordan, we always love having you around here, and Marcy. And if you guys would like to send us some feedback, please go on DutchHall.com, or you can follow us on the socials. You can do it when we're playing out, right before.
Let me sit down.
But
You guys have all heard about Little Johnny, haven't you?
wait, one moment.
Everybody know
We're
Little
gonna
Johnny?
sign off, and then Paul's gonna tell us a joke before we get out of here. But if you want to, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all that bullshit. It's Dutch Hall or at Live from the Dutch Hall. Other than that, we will see you NT. See you next Thursday. After Paul's done this joke, the knock will play out.